Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's latest open office hours. I'm Brian Doyle, and I'll be hosting with you today as I do every week. I would like to thank you all for attending. We're going to give everybody just another moment to kind of jump on board before jumping in. But this week, we're going to be talking a little bit about how to use the customer experience module to stay engaged and how we can better kind of engage with our customers in between our quarterly or technology business review sessions over time. So we'll give just a couple others a moment to log in, and then we'll kick things off. As always, remember today at the end of our session, we'll open up the floor for an Ask Me Anything. So if you've got any questions, whether they relate to customer experience or any other component within BCIO Toolbox, please feel free to reach out at the end of the session there. But at this stage, I think we've given people a couple minutes to jump in, and we can kick off today's coaching. So I'm really excited today to kind of dive into an area that we often neglect in our conversations with many folks at BCIO Toolbox. Usually when I'm working on demos with customers, we're focused obviously on the core components, the QBR, the GRC tools, how to engage our customers, obviously from a more classic business review or meeting standpoint. But one of the critical things is really staying engaged with our customers. One of the biggest threats that an MSP faces, and many of you maybe have heard me say this before, but it's really the curse of the great MSP. And what the curse of the great MSP is very simply, the more that we automate during a process and the more that we do remotely with our customers, the less we tend to be on site and the less we tend to have to, or the less things tend to break. At least that's what our goal is, right? And when that moment comes where really we should be getting a handshake or a high five, sometimes that's when we have our greatest stress with our customers. Sometimes we've even been shown the door, right? Because the customer doesn't understand the value that we're driving to in the process sometimes. And when they see that we're not there, when they see that things aren't breaking, they're just assuming things are going well. And then there's oftentimes the question that comes in about the billing, right? Why are we paying so much? We don't see things break anymore. We're not doing, we're not seeing these guys on site. So we really want to hedge bets in between meetings on this. Now, this may not be as big a threat, of course, with some of your customers who are larger scaled, the ones that you spend the most amount of your time with. And the reason it's not as much of a threat there is you're continuously engaging them. But think about those customers that live in your portfolio that you might only be seeing once or twice during the course of a year, right? There's a lot of time between those meetings. And what are we doing to stay engaged with them? Well, we're going to talk a little bit today on how to use the tool to bring in, survey capability or inquiry capability to that process. But I will say this, systems and tools only do half the battle. You got to make sure that you're engaging with your customer, reaching out and making those touch points as well. But these surveys will be something that you can certainly do to get some feedback and then be able to share some scoring back with your customers. So again, today, because I've seen a few more people jump in since we got started, we're really going to be focusing on kind of the functions behind the customer experience tool and where we can really engage our customers. Now, as we're going through this process today, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them up into the Q&A. Really would love to, get feedback as we're going through if anybody has anything they'd like to see. But now we'll jump into the CX module itself. If you haven't come into the CX module before, a little bit different than our CAM, QBR, and GRC, it's a little bit more of a function-driven area. Now, we do have some updates coming in, which will bring in a little bit more of a traditional dashboard to the front of this page. And what we're really excited about is automation as well, where you can do some scheduling of these surveys to go out and really allow this process to kind of become something that just happens instead of you having to interject. But, as we continue to morph this module a little bit for you, let's just go through a little bit of what the commands are over here on the left-hand side. Now, when you come in here, you're going to fall at CSAT surveys. This is really just a list of all the surveys that you've sent out the door and when they were last sent. So really at a glance, you can see, is this a process we're doing continuously? What's gone out? You can see exactly who it's been sent to in the survey template itself in terms of what was sent. So really just kind of a tracker mechanism, nothing really more than that. When we come into the customer experience, you see your traditional customer list like you do in every other module. The key here, though, is understanding that when you come over to our shortcuts over on the right-hand side, the smiley face is what you would click on to launch the dashboard to engage with an individual customer. So when you come into this individual customer dashboard, you can now choose from your list of contacts that you've imported in from your PSA, or you've added in manually if you're not PSA connected, and you'll be able to choose those folks that you want to send the survey to. From there, you will choose a survey template. We're going to do a deep dive on these survey templates in just a moment. And then you would choose an email template to go out with that. When those surveys get sent out, you're able to track those survey responses at the individual level here, similar to Business Insights, right? You guys have more than likely seen this before. But when you come into this survey here, really what you're doing is seeing their response. So here they gave us an NPS score of 10, no particular reason for that. Here, when I click on CSAT score, I'm able to see that this person had given us a yellow neutral face for a CSAT score. So this really just lets you see what was scored from the individual layer. Where you're really able to get a bit of a view on the customer themselves is when you come up to the CSAT answer summary. So within each customer space, which again, you launch from the customer area by clicking on the smiley face, you will then be brought into the CSAT answer summary, where you can now see how a timeline on when responses went out. In this case, we just had some surveys go out today. We're able to show the NPS scoring and what the response score was. When those were sent out, again, are highlighted here. When we look at our satisfaction surveys, we're able to see what occurred in the satisfaction side. In this case, we had 2 responses, and one was good and one was average. I'm going to come back to this engagement in a little bit, but this is another, you can build other survey types as well. You can look at team scores, you can look at timeliness scores. There's a number of different things here. If you want to see who it was within the customer's team that responded, you can see here not only who responded, but how many times they've responded as well. So you can really see who the engaged people are in a customer environment and who may be a little bit less engaged. If you want to show the answers or user summary, when you click over here, this will actually show you the individual responses below the graphs for each person. So here I know that, Joey Baggins scored us a 10 and Teddy Blank scored us a 9. As I come down here, I'm seeing very similar things. Joey Baggins was neutral with us on this given day and Teddy Blank was happy. So it really allows us to kind of drill into that scoring at the company level. In a few moments, I'm going to show you how we expand on that. And you can actually look at it from a global level as well. You can print out these responses as well. So if you want to share them with others on your team, you can click on the print command and then you've got a print page that you can send out. Now let's dive into templates. Templates are very reminiscent of what you guys see in the QBR templates, but they're set up a little bit differently. I'm going to jump into this CSAT template here by going on Manage, and you'll see we have a simple question. Under our topic, it says, how are we doing? Over here on the right-hand side, we have the actual question itself. And you'll see when you come into this question itself, you've got a simple name and title, and then you've got what the question text is. Now, from there, you can choose a question type. And candidly, this question type, you've got some different options here than you do in other surveys we have. In addition to our traditional yes, no, text, number, and multiple choice list, you'll see that you can put smile images, both 3 and 5 smile images. You can create a multiple choice list, which will give you radio buttons that'll allow a choice to be selected that way. And then you can set an NPS 1 through 10 and an agree and disagree 1 through 10. Now, one thing I'll tell you that you can ignore is question weight and maturity levels. Those will actually be coming out of this key here as well. They play no bearing on these surveys. So, really interacting with the templates is very similar here. Just to give you kind of a point of contrast, here's what's going on with an NPS template. Here, you'll see that we've got a question set up with an NPS score. And then we move into a reason. And here we have a text box. So a person can actually tell us why they gave us the score above, and we can get a little bit more of that information during the survey process. Now, to get a sense of what's happened at the global level, you just click on the survey that you want to see your global scores on. And when you come over here to the right-hand side where you see this graph, you can click in here and you can see when surveys went out over time. So you can make sure that you're being consistent with your sends. You're able to see a global view now of all responses to satisfaction. So you'll see here overall, we've got a 60% satisfaction rate. If you have any, so this is strictly at the template level. You'll notice here when I click on the email addresses, just like before, I can see exactly who the respondents were that were part of this exercise with me. And like everywhere else that I've shown you, you can then be able to go and show the user responses individually. So if you really want to drill into that with your customer success teams, you can do so. So that's a little bit about templates from a usage standpoint, just to show you the NPS surveys. You'll see here, you got your NPS scores coming in, and you can kind of get a sense of where people sit as well in that process. And over here, should you want to send something out to everybody, you can pick your survey template, the email template associated with it, and you can send it to all customers or all employees. But one thing to bear in mind there, now that we import contacts, that will truly go to all. So you'll probably want to leverage our future automation and really build groups of people that you would want to send these to versus sending them universally. But you certainly have the ability to send that to any user if you want to get that feedback globally from a group within the system as well. So last thing I want to really share on templates is, you just like our QBRs, you can build your own. You can come in here, create a new template. I actually did that just prior to this meeting. I created this project follow-up. Actually, I amended an existing project follow-up we had. And you'll see here, I built a simple topic, but then I added 4 questions. And this, the purpose of this template for me was, hey, I just engaged a customer in a project. I want to go out to a couple of the stakeholders that were part of that and see if I can get some feedback from them. And you'll see here, we've got a variety of different questions. I'll be showing you these surveys in a little bit greater detail in a moment so you can see how it looks to the customer. But very simply put, this is an engagement. Were you happy with the outcome of your most recent project? And I used a 1 to 10. I then move into team. Was our team courteous with you in all interactions with your team? Yes or no? So you can really kind of drill in and build anything. The beauty of this, just like a Survey Monkey, you can build out any survey you want, be able to capture those responses, see them at the individual level, see them at the team level, see them at the global level, and be able to also, kind of get feedback you might not have anywhere else to capture by leveraging VCIO Toolbox. Now I'm going to go from templates into satisfaction survey email. This is your standard email and will be used by default, similar to Business Insight Survey. So if you don't build any additional email templates, you're going to want to come into this survey area and just make sure that you've got your email set up the way you'd like to. Kirby, I'm going to hold that question for the Ask Me Anything, just because it's a little off topic at the moment, but definitely I will cover that in a moment. But the short answer is no. I guess we can answer it now. No, there is no integration today with BrightGauge. Finally, just in terms of some of these surveys here as well, you can build out your email, and because you've already set up your logo, the logo will come in place. Where I really want to spend a moment's email templates. This gives us an opportunity to really get a little bit more engaged with our customer and really build these templates out the way we want to. So, here's an example of a survey template. You can give it a name. You can even upload header and footer images. And you see over here, you've got an image library. So if I wanted to add a header image to this email, I would simply grab that image and bring it in here. I'm just going to copy this header image language here. Maybe I'll put it right below my logo. And now I've got the ability to see my header there. So now when I click save, you'll see down here in my preview, it will show me my header. You've got all your different HTML tags here that you can utilize. So, if you want to do a little bit more with spacing, things like that, that I obviously didn't do in just a quick moment, you can do so. But more importantly, you can send a test email to yourself as well. So you can really see what this email is going to look like. So what we've really given you is a little bit more control on how you can handle communications here You can build out your own, different email templates within the system. And it works no different than probably most of your marketing automation platforms work as well. As you can see here, as I mentioned, you can bring images into the library now. Images are going to become even more important to you in the next week or so, as we're adding some really nice updated controls for the report designer. This will definitely be one of our next couple coaching sessions, so keep an eye out for that. In the report designer, not only will you be able to bring in your own imagery, so you can really add anything that you would like to the reports to bring a little bit more visual aesthetic. There's going to be some new tools for organizations, some alternative cover options, and we're going to be providing you with some marketing slicks as well, with things like cybersecurity stats and things like that that you can bring into your reporting as well. So if you're doing things from a pre-sales perspective with VCIO Toolbox, you can really build a nice, good-looking report to kind of show a customer during that period as well. So stay tuned there, but that's where the image catalog comes in. As you start utilizing this, any images you want to add to the catalog, you'll put into the image library. It'll be available for you in different areas within the tool. Here, we're using it for those headers and footers in the email component that I showed you. And the last thing is, I've got a lot of customers that have requested this, so we did add this in. The ability to survey your own employees can be done from in here as well. So if you're looking to kind of, this really became an ask that we launched during COVID with everybody having remote workforce and remote teams. This just gave them an easy place to kind of centralize sending out the "Are you feeling alone?" kind of emails. But, certainly you can do it to get feedback from your own team, how they're feeling about things within the organization as well. So those are kind of the controls. Again, CSAT surveys as a high-level overview just kind of gives you a list of what's going on, when things went out, and who was surveyed. Customers allows you to jump into your existing customers, be able to see any individual responses, and then look at global scores for your customer. Templates allow you to build any templates, and to see the scores on templates, you click on the template name, and you're able to see the global scoring, including user responses. Satisfaction email surveys will allow you, is our default email, but if you want to build your own email templates, you can absolutely do so. Images and employees live here as well. Now, from what do these surveys look like perspective, they look very similar to what you guys have seen in VCIO Toolbox. So I'm just bringing up from my other screen or from Business Insights. It looks very similar. You come over here, you're able to see your logo. How likely are you to refer us? I can answer that. I can then say, guys rock. And I can submit my answer. So, that's kind of just gives you a sense of how the survey looks for a customer. Just to give you another one, here, I'll actually pull this over. Here you're seeing kind of what the email template that came to me looks like. I'm able to click on my link. And here I'm able to see my project update, where I can do a mixed type of survey, where I can say, how I feel on a scale of 1 to 10, and then my yes to no interactions as well. So, super easy to utilize there. Another place that that we give you the ability to connect to CX, and we're really trying to drive a tight integration between our key account management and customer experience in the long term. As I mentioned earlier, you'll be able to set up some workflow with your contacts and customers as well. So surveys go out on predefined periods. But as you can see here, when I come into my customers, I can go straight to the smiley face, but a little bit different here. I can search out any contact that I would like to, and be able to run a quick survey here as well with them, just by clicking on that smiley face. That will bring me into the customer's actual survey area, not unique just to that contact. It'll default to the contact I want to send to, and I can pick my surveys and send that. But if I also, while I'm in here, want to take a look at, the responses from the group, I can do so. So, that's kind of a very high level view of the CX module. Obviously, I would suggest do a little playing, maybe start internally sending out some surveys if you haven't with the system yet, to see how that works. We do have videos up in the university. This coaching video will be up under Tuesdays, our open office coaching hours. It'll be listed under here, but we do have other videos and I'm going to respectfully say I don't know where they are, but there are other training videos around that as well. And if you go into our knowledge base, you will see that when you come into the knowledge base as well, we do have questions about how to set up things, or step-by-steps on how to do things within the customer experience module as well, videos and other things. So with that, I'm going to open up the floor for any other questions. So to go back earlier to a previous question being asked, yes, we don't have an integration with Bright Gauge. So right now, these statistics cannot be pushed up through there. Again, the purpose of our system when we first put it together, not that we're not adverse to potentially exploring that opportunity, but when we first put together the system, really our goal was this to be kind of a correlated scorecard to what you were doing at the ticket level. So as you were using tools like Smileback or other tools to get kind of that end user community feedback, which is great for staying in front of problems. It's great for getting immediate feedback. The only negatives with it is everybody scores equally, right? So whether it's the CEO or the lowest man on the totem pole, their voice is equal. Your reaction might be different. The other challenge we run into, is it's only telling us that point in time story as it relates to that ticket. It's really not giving us a more relationship level, and it's not protecting us from the curse of the great MSP, as we mentioned earlier. So, this is really why we have built this platform. So you've got that correlated scorecard where you can go out to decision makers, influencers, and key stakeholders, and really be able to work with them and get some feedback and make sure that you're not losing ground with your customer over time. So, with that being said, if there is if we see that the community overwhelmingly wants to see our scores go into Bright Gauge, we'll certainly consider investing that time and building out to that. Candidly, one of the things I'm doing here is I want to see more people using the customer experience module. I've had some customers share with me that the customers, the reason they've come to me in demos was strictly because they recently lost a customer because they weren't that engaged. And we want to make sure that you're leveraging the platform at every touch point to stay engaged with your customer. So with that, again, I'll open up the floor. If you have any questions, please drop them into the Q&A. Love to be able to reply back to you on that. If not, for those of you that might be new to the coaching experience, every Tuesday we break down a topic within VCIO Toolbox. We'll do a deep dive on it, really try to make sure that you're able to kind of engage in different areas of the platform that you may not have fully explored. Some weeks it's more about theory, how to be a VCIO, how to be a VC. So how to really approach the marketplace from a more process-driven standpoint. If you've got any suggestions for what you'd like to see in coaching, please don't hesitate to email me directly. In terms of hitting me up with any of those topics, you can hit me up at bdoyle@VCIO Toolbox. Chris, maybe I can ask a little bit more in terms of simplifying the Microsoft integrations. I don't know if you can put into the answer, if you want me to bring you on live a moment. Love to understand what that really means, just so I can have a better understanding and make sure I can bring it to my team if it is something that we can work on. For those that aren't aware, today we do have tenant level integration with Microsoft. Right now we are putting in simply just the secure score, MFA status, and active user, active license status. We are in process right now in giving you the backing information on that as well. So when you click on those graphs during a meeting, you'll be able to see the steps that you need to take and points that you'll gain from it, and the users and where they sit within licensing. But that's kind of where we stand today. Chris, does that help at all with any of that question? Simplifying, I know, can take a lot of different spins, so I want to make sure I'm being accurate in the ask. If you want to ask me offline later, please feel free to reach to me at bdoyle@VCIO Toolbox, and I'm actually putting that email address in the chat. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in, so I will give you guys a few minutes of your time back. I want to thank you, as always, for joining us this week. This video will be posted up into the university if you want to look back at it, by this time tomorrow. So please don't hesitate to take a look at that. And if you've got any questions, like I said, please feel free to reach out to me directly. Chris, I'm probably going to circle back with you and see if I can get a little bit better understanding on what you're looking for from a Microsoft integration standpoint as well. And I want to thank everybody for joining me today. Take care now.